Today I want to talk about how to create a record using a service. Now in this particular case, I have my application and I've already logged in, and as you can see I have in the outline view I've got two forms. One is the form that the user is going to see, and they're going to provide name and then press the submit button to create a record. And it's going to push that data into this data form. Now, why would I do that? One case is, let's say I want to store the data somewhere else away from the form that I'm rendering. You may want to have a customized user interface where you design tables and widgets and maybe a hub that shows users information about what actions they need to perform. Well, in that particular case, that form never gets submitted, but we want the data to be captured somewhere. And so that's what we're doing. We're pushing that data into another form that's going to hold all of that. So in my example, this form that I'm rendering will never be submitted, and I want to just show how you would make those changes. So in my page properties, I'm not going to display the stage actions on this page, and that means that when this form is rendered, there will be no way to submit it. The only buttons that will be visible will be the buttons that I provide. Now the next part to this is that, well, I'll show you the back-end data. So the back-end data is going to replicate exactly what I have on the front end, in that I have a first name field and I have a last name field. And on the front end, I have a first name field and a last name field. So what I need to do is I need to create a service that will push the data from what we see on screen to this form in the back end. And typically when we do this, I want to make sure that my stages and my access permissions are all set up correctly. Now, one point that I'm going to make is that every form starts with a start and an end stage, and if you ever need to edit or update those records, then you will need to have an intermediate stage, a stage where you can then turn around and edit those records. So I'm going to create a new stage here. I'm going to call it active, and I'm going to change the submit button to an update, well, just to the word update, and when you click update, it's going to point back to itself. And then I'm going to change the direction, or the routing direction, of the start submit button to point to this active stage. By doing that, when I submit data into this table, they will be in a stage where I can update them. But if I allowed them to go to the end stage, then I would not be able to update them. And I'm not going to be submitting this first form, so I don't need to make any stage changes. On my access permissions, I want everybody to be able to create one of these data records, and I want to also be able to update these records. So I'm going to click Save, and now we're going to go and create our service. There are a couple of different ways that you can create a service. One is from the Settings tab, and on each of these forms listed here can have services created for them. The other way is to create a service through the form interface. So in this particular, I want the service to be called when I click the button. I can go into the properties of that button and I can select call a service when clicked. And now I have this option to either select a service that already has been created, or I can click this add edit service configuration link to create a new one. And that's what I'm going to do. Then I will see my service configuration screen, which I have access to services that may already exist in the system, or if I select IBM Forms Experience Builder applications, then I will be able to search for my application and find the service that I'm looking for. I'll type in my search term, and I don't have to put in the whole thing, but it will filter down based on the content that is there. These are all of the services that are available in my application, and the one that I want is a submit create for the data form. So I select that, click on inputs. We can see on the left hand side here the fields of my current form, and on the right hand side are the fields that are available to update in using the service. So I'm going to link first name to first name and last name to last name, and then I'm going to click on outputs. And right now I don't really need to see any output, but if I wanted to, I could link the number of records to another field to indicate how many records were updated. I could also have this service return the record that was created with the unique record ID, which might be handy if later on I wanted to look up that record that was created. Can check details, so I can change the ID of this if I want, and I'll change it to create person record. And now that should be all that is required. So I will save this application, and I will click on manage, and we will deploy this service to create records. And if I click on the view responses, we're going to see that there is no data in form 1. There is also no data in the data form. So I'm going to go back, and I'm actually going to launch form 1, and I'm going to type in my name, and I'm going to click submit. Now it looks like nothing happened, but if I go back to my view responses and I refresh the data, we're actually going to see that a record was created. We can see that my name is there, the time that it was submitted, and we can also see that it is in the active stage. So by using this create service, we can programmatically push data into other forms that can be used later on. There are a lot of different applications for this kind of functionality, and we can extend the implementation even further by providing feedback to the user once a record has been submitted. We could also provide logic to say, well, I don't want somebody to be able to submit a record more than once. And we could keep going in all these different kinds of use cases. So for now, I just wanted to talk about this high-level concept, how to use a create service to create records in other forms. I hope that you have found this helpful. Feel free to post comments and or questions if you have them. Thank you for watching.